Deputy Chief Commanding Officer Tom Wieczerak, thank you for having us.
Oh, thanks for being here today again.
Really cool. Newark Liberty Airport. We're here with the Port Authority in New York and New Jersey. We got to poke around today and really see what's going on here at the airport when it comes to fire and rescue services. We're here with Fire and Safety Services, the Pierce dealer, because of this right here, Rescue 8, which is a 2024 Aero XT chassis with a puck-mounted pump. And from conversation with you, I come to find that this is a new addition to the fleet, not a new truck, but a new type of apparatus for you at the airport.
Yes, it is actually. So, you know, the world of airport or aircraft rescue firefighting, you think of the big trucks that we have outside.
Sure.
Carrying lots of water. They look like they should be in like Armageddon. You know, they're going up there, they're going to go save the world on freedom and independence. As awesome as those trucks are, and they do a great role for us, what they're not good at is they don't have room for equipment. They don't have room for supply lines. They don't have room for extra hoses that we have on aircraft. And there are a couple of other variables that come into play here, just as an example of what's happening in the world of aviation. The proliferation of lithium-ion batteries, powering ground power equipment, the things that give power to airplanes when they're sitting at the gates. To the tugs, they're all now going from diesel-powered to lithium-ion battery-powered. And we need even more equipment that we just don't have room for. And plus, in the world of aviation and in the fire service, we see things that have happened across the industry. And when we talk about the world of aircraft rescue firefighting, we learn a lot from accidents that have happened in the past.
Sure.
You know, you learn about not only things that pilots need to know about aviation safety and flying and design of aircraft, but we learn about what happened with the fire response as well.
Yes.
Because things will go wrong, and when they go wrong, we need to be appropriately equipped. So going back to the days of Asiana, there was a crash of a Boeing 777 out at San Francisco. Plane went into the rocks, and a lot of different information came out from the studies with that. Namely was the equipment and attack lines that the fire apparatus had. Our Oshkosh fire apparatus only have 200-foot pre-connects. That's it. You know, when you talk about setbacks in an emergency scene, you know, taking that 200 feet off, I'm just enough to get in the door and do nothing.
Right.
And while maybe I have the blitz attack where I can take care of fuel fires from the aircraft breaking apart in the fire and helping people get out on their own, unfortunately, you'll see that people are still trapped inside of the aircraft, and we need to make entry with an attack line in, and they get hydraulic rescue equipment to go to work.
Sure.
We found that we did not have those capabilities. In that one specific example, and there are many different others. Specifically when you get into like extinguishing agents, which we have put onto this truck, like not using traditional AFFF foam, using an encapsulating agent like F500. But ultimately, back in, it was almost 5 years ago since I'd become the commanding officer here, that we started the effort on this, and it's awesome to see it actually here today. But we knew we needed a bigger truck for our extrication and rescue equipment, and we needed a truck that was able to carry more hose, be it 5-inch supply line, 2.5-inch attack line, 3-inch supply line. This was the fruition of all of it here. And I will say that it also combined, we were able to eliminate 3 other vehicles to make this, to complement everything we did. So not only did we enhance our efficiency in our response package, but we were able to get rid of unneeded vehicles that were just taking up room on the budget line and maintenance and training people in vehicles that weren't being used, or vehicles that we had that were totally overloaded with equipment, overweight and all those other things that go along, and not even being able to put the amount of people that we needed into them. So that's how we came to getting this beautiful piece of equipment here.
Well, it's a welcome addition, right? I mean, as we drove around the airport today, you know, from an outsider looking in, until I got the tour today, you really don't understand the size and scope of the responsibilities you have here, right? And then when you get on property and you start working yourself around the tarmac and the taxiways and all these intricate parts of the airport where all the baggage handling equipment is, ground support, when you start looking at the overwhelming responsibility that you and your department handles on a daily basis, it just makes sense to have an apparatus that can fulfill the requirements that are requested of you.
Yeah, no, of course, and that's exactly what this winds up doing here. While we always have a need for mutual aid to assist us in certain instances, this really brings our capability of just about everything we're able to handle in-house here, which is important because getting onto the airfield isn't something that's easy. Even when we're in a moment where I really need an urgent response from our mutual aid partners,
Right.
they're not getting here fast.
That's right.
Simply, even if they were just outside the gate, they can't just come through the gate. It becomes this airfield, even when an emergency is happening, is still running.
Yeah.
There are still airplanes that are taking off and landing.
That's right.
And taxiing and moving off the gate and so on, and they have to be under a positive escort. So things take time here.
Sure.
And being self-sufficient within these gates is a very critical thing to protecting life and property.
And it should be said too, because looking at Newark Airport and understanding how you operate today, you think about the airport, you think about the big ARF trucks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about what you're responsible for everything within the gate.
Mm-hmm.
But that means like terminals and outbuildings and things like that are the responsibility of the municipal fire departments for the most part outside.
Correct, yes.
So for somebody watching this going like, what do you mean this is a unique truck for you? You guys primarily are responsible for everything within the gate, which is the aircraft and supporting equipment and things like that.
Correct.
Yes, some of the buildings and so on, but a lot of it, this is not a common piece for you.
Correct.
Until today.
Yes, this was not something
Right.
that was part of the Port Authority arsenal.
Yeah.
And we were, as fire professionals, were able to bring light with all that.
I like that.
With previous studies.
Yeah.
We learn from firefighter fatalities. We learn from firefighters being injured, unfortunately, but we can't let their deaths be in vain. And it's no different than the traveling public
right.
as well. We operate under highly scrutinized regulatory parameters.
Yes.
And those parameters are written in blood. That's not cliche, that's not something to be dramatic about. People have died. And everything that we do is with the purpose to save life and property.
Yeah.
We know that the aviation industry, although there have been many events that have been extremely high profile lately, very safe. But when things do go wrong, know that every aspect of how things are set up, from our crash trucks, the Oshkosh Strikers, to this new rescue, it is set up to make things even more efficient and to lessen the loss of life and property.
Yeah.
On somebody's worst day, we're providing you with the equipment and the peace of mind that we're going to get your family back home on that worst moment.
I travel out of this airport all the time. It's my home airport. So I'm here often, and it's comforting to know the true professionals that are staffing this place 24 hours a day. So I'm grateful for that. What I'd love to do is, as we take this conversation, let's work our way around the truck. Of
course.
We'll start talking about some of the other aspects and mindset that went into the build.
Awesome.
Great. All right, Chief, so give me the breakdown. We're here at the pump housing. It's a rescue engine, so other than the rescue equipment, obviously we're carrying hose, water, and a pump. Talk to me about what you guys decided to do.
So the most important thing that we went with in thinking about the design of this truck is, how do we keep a similarity to our Oshkosh Strikers? And we were really looking at that for ease of training and just similarity
Sure.
and common operating picture when it comes to our operation, because we know in the fire service we like to just change things and have several different ways. The PUC, the pump under chassis concept,
Right.
is very similar in nature to our Oshkosh Strikers, in not having your traditional transfer switch and so on. Just simply hit the pump for water,
Yep.
and there we go, we're ready
Off
to
we
go. And you had the opportunity to sit in the Oshkosh Strikers today.
That's right.
Very similar in nature on at least how to start getting water going and all the other concepts. While this is capable of pumping and rolling, we don't have any other features like that, so there's nothing really to do, just keeping it in that same concept. In coming over, really, the other aspects that are very similar to the Oshkosh wind up being how the pre-connects are coming out of the bins.
Right.
200-foot pre-connects of 1 3/4, and obviously said we need more, which we'll see when we get to the back. Roof hooks, our little giant Stokes basket, long boards, and so on. Very similar concept to what was on the crash trucks. So again, that common theme of carrying the same equipment and then having the additional that you see in the back. Coming up into our pump panel, our Oshkosh Strikers also have a structural panel on board.
Right.
With your Pierce command zone or your command centers that are on there. So again, the concepts of having similarly set up pumps is really what we were looking to go in. Even to the extent of the handles, how we
Sure.
have the 2.5-inch discharges, we tried to keep things the same. And the PUC platform enabled us to do so, which is why we went with it. Other special features that we have in here wind up being the Husky 12 foam system.
Right.
But we didn't go with foam. We have traditional mil-spec 3% AFFF on our crash trucks. But when we were looking and really deeply studying what we needed to enhance our capabilities for lithium-ion battery fires, which is something that, again, can't emphasize enough, is being proliferated across our airports as the airline's ability to be net zero. Can't get rid of the jet fuel, so they wind up saying we're going to reduce our emissions by going battery-powered equipment on the ground. In the foam system, we went F500, an encapsulating agent, which is great for not only lithium-ion battery fires, but can be used on Class A fires, and then across the gamut. So really taking our ability to expand what we're able to use in extinguishing agents. So we have a wealth of extinguishing agents for all types of exotic fires that happen on airports there.
And it happens regularly. We were talking about it before, which I was actually really surprised about. A lot of the ground support equipment is changing over to lithium ion.
Yes.
So you have mass charging stations underneath
all over
the airport,
place.
right?
Yes.
And then you have inbound flights and outbound flights where people have things like cell phones and laptops and all sorts of electronics that are flying out. And so the potential of a fire due to batteries is ever increasing.
Ever increasing, very low frequency.
100%.
High consequence when something does happen.
That's right.
Yet, we needed to be prepared.
Right.
At Newark alone, we say that we have 48 million passengers. That's only 48 million passengers outbound. That's not counting everybody who's inbound and then all the other things that are happening around us.
Workers, visitors, you name it. That's incredible.
It is. It's amazing. It's daunting when you start thinking about the numbers.
It is. And today has been one of those days where you're starting to really conceptualize and understand what you guys deal with on a regular basis.
Of course.
It's pretty wild. I want to talk about this. Something that stood out to me, right, was just the...
Yes. We are very colorful and color coordinated.
Right.
While this is not unique to our to Rescue 8 here, our trucks have color-coded adapters and so on. So we're dealing not only with Newark Airport, but Teterboro Airport, and we have the ability to potentially be over at LaGuardia and Kennedy Airport. So with that, you would think that in the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, we would have hydrants that have just one standard thread. That is not what's going on.
Case.
Neither do our mutual aid partners.
I get it.
So we're working with National Standard thread, New York Core.
Yeah.
At Teterboro Airport, we also have FDNY thread on top of National Standard. Our mutual aid partners are also coming in with different threads and whatnot. So nonetheless, we are prepared to handle anything.
Right.
So we attempted to do a little color coding where while the truck is National Standard, which is blue, so we say blue. We like to say for our police officers and our sergeants that are in there as whatnot. So blue is typically on our trucks, and our mutual aid partners or things that we're hooking up to is orange. And in New York, the actual FDNY thread is red.
Yes.
So we have multiple colors going across.
Yeah.
The Port Authority is kind of keeping things as a commonality there. And we've marked them up as well because sometimes in the heat of battle, things can get a little confusing.
Well, I get that. I totally get that.
To make ourselves a little easier out there in the field, though, one of our progressive natures, we made sure all of the 4.5 inch or the large diameter steamers on our hydrants are all storage connections. So
there you go.
At least it makes it a little bit easier there to get into battle. But nonetheless, all the other complicated things that we may encounter on our airfield, we're ready to adapt to it, as well as our mutual aid partners coming in. We're ready to take care of anything to make sure we can get water or they can get water.
Yeah. Talk to me about pump capacity and tank size.
Great. So yes, the Puck is a 1,500 GPM pump. We have 700 gallons of water on board.
Right.
And we carry 100 gallons of F500. So the foam cell is 100 gallons.
And it's larger than most.
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
You're getting the 30 to 40 gallons is usually what you'd see. We did it because here we have the ability to be having, greater impacts from certain lithium-ion battery fires. And you got to see some of the tugs.
Yep.
It's daunting when you look at that, of how large they are. I mean, it's the size of the safe as I'm looking over there off camera. But then when we talk about some of our ground power units, they're upwards of 6 Nissan Leaf pan batteries in them. So that's equivalent to having 6 Nissan Leafs on fire.
Wow.
Is what we would be dealing with, which is why we went with the higher quantity, as well as having the higher quantity Husky 12 system.
Right.
If we have a fuel fire, we're able to hook up to external sources and not necessarily flow F500, we could flow foam from an external source.
Yeah.
So our capabilities of taking care of fire, whatever it may be with our partners coming in, we're capable to do that.
Well thought out, and that was my point when we started this conversation today was, to design a new apparatus. I mean, it's a new apparatus in a lot of senses. It's not just new as in new, it's new, it's a new concept.
Right.
And so
taking all of our shortfalls and putting them together, and we did that with intent with the truck committee of looking at our subject matter experts, bringing our personnel in from the floor.
Yep.
We may know certain things of what we want in a specification, but having the people who use these trucks day in and day out, where should these adapters be? Where should the Hearst equipment be? You know, where should some of our fire suppression equipment be for lithium-ion batteries, such as fire blankets in coffin compartments and mass casualty equipment? Those are the other things that come into play there. So a lot of collaboration, a lot of years of looking at what the need actually was and is.
And for me, when we talk about projects like this with Rescue Aid, it's understanding the mindset that goes into the build, right? And then it's putting it to paper, and then from paper to build, and then on delivery, it's implementing.
Of course.
It's all those things. And so when we talk about custom fire apparatus, it's always great to get into the mindset of how it was designed, why it was designed, and so on. So it's been a great build, and I'm excited to see the rest of it. So let's take a walk, and we'll check the rear.
Good.
Chief, flipped it around. We're on the officer side now of the apparatus. We talked about the capacity, water capacity, foam capacity for firefighting. But it's also a rescue engine. It's a Rescue 8. So we need to have compartmentation for rescue equipment. Talk to me a little bit about where the considerations were there.
So actually quite a bit in consideration. First, starting off with, as many tools as we may or may not have, it was critical working with fire and safety on actually like setting up a compartment.
Yeah.
I mean, what they did here, all this was done, you know, locally at fire and safety of setting up the beautiful compartmentation, the beautiful mounts that they wind up having there. And it gave our opportunity to maximize every square inch of space, to have the cache of tools that we have on here. And really what I refer to is like the hydraulics. Right. You can look all over the internet and see many different other crazy ideas that are going on there, Lazy Susan type compartmentation. Sure. And actually we found with working with our sales rep and working with Tucker at the shop that was not the way to go and do the compartmentation with Lazy Susans and so on. Laying things out this way was the way to do it there and actually have custom brackets made up. We were able to get everything that we had because at first we didn't think we were going to make it.
Right.
And here we are. And it was important because the cache of the Hurst hydraulic tools was yet another consideration that we had. Multiple years ago, working with the Philadelphia Fire Department through the ARF Working Group, we found that they had tremendous success in an Amtrak accident in Philadelphia where they had to have extrication tools inside of the Amtrak cars and so on. And they had tremendous issues with using traditional gasoline pump and hoses and connecting all the extrication equipment. And they found that using the hydraulics was extremely efficient, successful with having the battery operated units and so on. And we really took that to heart. You know, as much as it's a train, the tubular environment and all the things that were happening were very similar in setup to a fuselage on an aircraft there. So we were one of the few departments that get away from a very orange-colored hydraulic rescue tool and move towards the cache of tools that we have here, which are excellent in everything that we do in the airport environment, be it vehicle rescue, forcible entry, or even getting into the scenarios of extricating people from an aircraft wreck, moving seats, whatever it may be, and getting through aircraft metals. And you can see here, it seems as if I bought the entire Hurst factory, but nonetheless, between both sides, we have everything that we need to handle.
You got to be prepared. And I think what's really interesting about that conversation was the first part of it, especially where you talked about you weren't sure if you were going to make it, meaning you had so much equipment you wanted to get on to this body that you had to make sure that it was laid out correctly. And that is where I think really teaming up with the manufacturer or the dealer and finding a way to lay out your equipment and then design mounting and upfitting your apparatus for your own needs is the way to go.
Key to success. I mean, you can see how clean everything is. And a lot of us firemen tend to just jam a whole bunch of stuff in stuff. Stuff in stuff, right? Stuff into a compartment there. But nonetheless, you can see how organized everything is.
Right.
And in the heat of the moment, right now, beautiful lighting that we have here. You know, we're being recorded by cameras. And right now it's daylight. But in a snowstorm, in the middle of a night, in a rainstorm, whenever it may be, between the lighting and the way things are set up there, the ergonomics of pulling it out of the tray, that's another consideration too, not bringing heavy stuff from up high.
That's right.
And all the other associated things that go with ergonomics and rapid deployment of an emergency tool. That was all taken into consideration of what you see here.
Well, this build really exemplifies the upfitting that can be done in-house at Fire and Safety Services. And it goes from their knowledgeable input and also your input. And I think finding time together on the floor and figuring that out is really how you come up with the design that best represents what you need.
Absolutely. It goes from not only just the truck committee, because there's a lot of stuff that's on paper.
Right.
You know, and then there's a lot of stuff that we see on the blue floor when the guys are out in Appleton, Wisconsin.
Sure.
It's a whole nother thing when the truck is actually here and you're actually putting the equipment on there.
Yeah.
It's nice to know through every phase that we have the support there, that it's a collaborative effort between dealer and end user here, and listening to everybody on the floor there to get a beautiful piece out there to do the job it's supposed to do.
All right, Chief, so to back up the conversation about the capacity of the engine, right, water and foam-wise, something a little bit different. Your ARF trucks are not carrying a lot of 5-inch supply or 3-inch supply, right? So let's talk about what the thoughts were here.
Really, it was to be self-sufficient. It was for us to have an ability to resupply our trucks. Being out on the field, you saw we have fire hydrants that are all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, in the ground and traditional Metropolitan M1 hydrants.
I mean, along the runway and taxiway,
yes,
too,
absolutely.
which was a little surprising.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason, we needed 5-inch for certain areas where we have maybe a 500-600 foot stretch between a hydrant and getting onto a taxiway system. So we needed a supply line for taking care of business.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And then we have a pre-connected blitz fire here off the rear.
Yes, we do. And again, all the equipment that we have, there could be a variety of different fires that we encounter. And getting into the little niches in the alleyways of the terminals.
There's a lot of them.
You saw how many fueling trucks we had there. The fact that we have fueling hydrants that are in these areas.
Yeah.
Having the capability to deploy a blitz fire and have that quick knockdown and an ability to have copious amounts of water for a long amount of time in little small areas, we have that capability on this truck now, where we don't on the crash trucks there. We may be able to put a blitz fire on there, but then I'm only able to go out, 100 feet with my two 50-foot pony lengths that I have there. This gives us that capability to suppress fire, knock down fire, take care of exposure protection. Oh, and that big thing that we've been talking about, lithium-ion battery fires, for when we're going through after the initial knockdown of fire, our cooling of the thermal runaway, and so on. All the other things that go along with our strategy and tactics, this truck has truly equipped us to do that.
Yeah. Well, you got a nice amount of hose on board, ground ladders, you have a onboard generator, so you got cord reels and extinguishers in here. It's really rounded out well.
Yes.
And I think overall it's just a great build, and I think it's a welcomed addition to what you guys are doing here at Newark Airport.
It absolutely is a welcomed addition, and hopefully across the fleet in the Port Authority. This truck will also become present at LaGuardia and Kennedy Airport as well. This was the beginning of a lot of things to modernizing, our approach to fire protection for aircraft rescue firefighting.
Great. Deputy Chief Wieczerak, thank you. Thanks for a great day here at the airport. Port Authority, Newark Liberty International. It's just a great day to really see what goes on inside the fences of the airport.
Yeah, we took the veil back today for you.
You did. And this project was all about Rescue 8.
Yes.
Which was a Pierce apparatus built by Fire and Safety Services and Pierce Manufacturing. The process working with Fire and Safety, I'm curious. Give me a little rundown on that.
It's smooth and efficient. This wasn't my first time dealing with fire and safety. I've built trucks in the volunteer service as well. Pierce is a fantastic product. I mean, it is the best of the best. And everything that we did, from writing the contract and the specs and getting through the build process, the pre-build, it was awesome. And I can't say enough about fire and safety of actually getting the truck delivered and helping us get this into service. Top-notch quality. And we greatly appreciate what they've done, and we look forward to working with them in the future, hopefully.
A true partnership, right? That's what matters. So the final product represents the true partnership that you have.
Our collaboration.
Yeah.
Efficient, good collaboration.
I love that. And I think one other thing that really stood out to me today while we spent the day together was your love of history and understanding the past to know where we're going in the future. And I think that absolutely matters.
It 100% does. We can't be prepared for what's going to be at hand in the future if we don't know what the past was. We don't apply lessons learned, from the blood that writes the laws and the regulations, from firefighters who have passed to people who have passed away in plane crashes. That's what we're here to ease the future pain and do our best to preserve life and property.
Chief, thank you for a great day.
Thank you very much.
Guys, stay tuned for another episode of From Framerails to Finish.